Awesome. Thank you. Perfect. Cool. Now, I'm sure some of you guys got an email and were wondering what is Invention Studio, and we are so glad that you asked, because Invention Studio is actually one of Nueva's core programs at the school. Invention Studio is a student-led social innovation and entrepreneurship program where student teams collaboratively design and engineer products for social good. We've actually been around at Nueva for over 7 years now, so we've actually been one of the founding Nueva programs at the Nueva Upper School. And with that, and with all of those years that we've been around, we've had over 16 teams go through our program. We've had over 4 patents filed by our teams, and we've had teams go on to pitch at international stages. And so it's a really, really exciting program where, as we like to say, we get to see high schoolers do really cool, big, scary adult things in high school. We are also a student-led program, so that means that this event, the hack nights that we hold throughout the year, and all the various mentorship opportunities that we create are actually all organized by these amazing people here, and with the help of our amazing faculty advisors, Morgan and Dan. And with that, I'll actually pass the mic to Logan to introduce himself.
Hi everyone, I'm Logan. I'm the current senior captain.
I'm Evan. I'm currently a sophomore. I'm also going to be presenting today a product for iStudio, and yeah, I'm just really excited.
I'm Viola. I'm a freshman right now and also a captain in training.
Hi, student-led, so I wasn't planning on introducing myself. I'm Morgan Snyder. I'm one of the iLab teachers here at the upper school. I teach computer science, and I've been advising Invention Studio for 3 years. It's been a great pleasure to see all the new projects, which end up on an international stage maybe, but also start as really messy, tiny things. So I think you'll see some of that magic today.
Yeah, hey, I'm Dan Morgan. This is my first year advising iStudio. I work in the iLab as well. I teach mechanical engineering and various other forms of engineering. And it's been really fun to see kids doing things that me as an ex-engineer used to do out in the real world. So that's been really, really cool to see. So I'm excited to see, and for you to see all the fun things that they have in store for you tonight.
Clicker. All right. So what makes Invention Studio really special and what really drives our program, beyond our students itself, is our mentorship network. And the idea behind that is it's super special to connect our teams with people outside of the school, which enables them to scale their projects and make a bigger impact, and also just gain an understanding of what goes on outside of high school-based projects and what's happening in the real world in terms of entrepreneurship. So that's like a big part of our program. And with that said, we can meet our panelists for the day. Please warmly welcome and give a round of applause to our panelists. Our first panelist is Dave Marvit. He's a partner and executive advisory board member of IXBio, a biotechnology research company, and a board member and intelligence lead at Grace One Guild, a global independent collective of sense makers, change agents, futurists, and problem solvers. Dave has a long history of building teams to innovate leading edge technologies, and received over 60 patents and over 7,000 forward citations for his breakthrough research. Dave is also a Demo Day veteran and was a panelist last year and has been really involved in helping our teams move forward and gain success in the program. Our next panelist is Cathy Polinsky, who is the Chief Technology Officer at DataGrail, the leading privacy management platform for modern brands. Is also a board member of Aidin, a healthcare analytics company. Prior to joining DataGrail, she served as the Vice President of Engineering at Shopify and the CTO of Stitch Fix. As a technical leader with extensive expertise in engineering, Cathy has also been on engineering teams at major companies like Amazon, Oracle, Yahoo, and Salesforce. So another round of applause. And our final panelist is Ryan Choi. Ryan is the head of alumni relations at Y Combinator, where he previously served as the director of their Work at a Startup program. Prior to YC, Ryan was a product lead at Lyft, head partner engineering at Twitter, director of engineering at Zora, and originally the 7th engineer at Salesforce, which is pretty cool. Ryan is a patent holder and has also co-founded a company that went through YC itself. So I guess if that's it, we can give another final round. Yeah, so the agenda for today is that we will have our main talks, which is 3 teams, which I'll introduce in a second. After that, we can grab more food. There'll also be some short intro talks of just starting out teams. We'll have a chance for audience Q&A where you guys can ask questions to the members of our program. And after that, we'll have awards at closing. So we have our first... So the first team that we'll be pitching is PERCH with Kian Salimi, Aidin Salimi, and Shayan Salimi, a group of brothers here at Nueva. Secondly, we also have Expresso with Arishka, Zhang, and Leah Triantos, and Safety with Wang and Kevin Shen. After that, we have some intro talks by Gavin, Zhang, and Rosario, who you already were introduced to. And for the 3 main talks, we have a $500 prize for what our panelists conclude is kind of the most impactful pitch or top pitch. So that's something you can keep in mind as well. So with that said, we can kind of kick off our presentations with PERCH.
We're getting microphone number 2.
Hello, everyone. We will be presenting on PERCH today, Personalized Communication for Healthcare, an app that aims to help physicians tailor their communication to their individual patients' health literacy needs.
Okay, this is our grandmother, who's lived most of her life in Iran and is the kindest person I know. Due to cultural barriers, she often struggles to communicate with her physicians and faces challenges in receiving treatment plans that she actually wants. She sparked a determination in us to come up with a solution to improve healthcare communication.
And this problem is called limited health literacy. So health literacy as a whole is a patient's ability to find, understand, and use health-related information to make health-informed decisions. And health literacy can impair a patient's ability to navigate the healthcare system, engage in medical discussions, and fully participate in managing their health. Now, eliminating this problem can lead to preventing over 1 million hospital visits a year, can save up to $25 billion, and help over 100 million individuals in the US. So limited health literacy affects vulnerable populations disproportionately. And these vulnerable populations can include the elderly, racial and ethnic minorities, as well as economically disadvantaged individuals.
Providing patient-centered care, where patients work with their physicians to actually optimize their health, is a critical step towards improving the health of these communities and resolving health disparities. And so we have a little heart with hands that shows up. Okay.
Introducing PERCH. Come on. Okay. Working to create a more personalized and equitable healthcare system.
So when a patient opens the web app, they are approached by a Get Started screen. And once they continue, they are given a series of questions from validated online resources which evaluate that patient's health literacy level in each of the 4 following domains: written, verbal, numerical, and digital. Based off of this, they are then given 4 needs questions based off of their limited or adequacy in each of the 4 written, verbal, numerical, or digital health literacy domains. Then, a physician report is generated that provides personalized strategies for their physician to tailor their communication to better that patient's understanding of the health information. So, we have been developing this app under the mentorship of UCSF Health Disparities researcher Dr. Mandana Khalili, and we have been working very closely with both patients and physicians to help tailor our app to both target audiences. So in a preliminary study, we saw that 93% of patients reported that PERCH would have high efficacy or partial efficacy in improving their understanding of their patient's health or their physician's health information. 6 out of 7 physicians also said that they believe PERCH will improve the relationship with their patients. And these very promising results indicate PERCH's huge potential for social impact and addressing the gaps in our healthcare system.
Here? Okay. That might be helpful. Thank you. Okay, next slide, please. This is perfect, yeah. So just to note, this is data that we've gathered ourselves in our own research with our app and patients. So this is a study that we ran last year, basically testing our app with patients and testing the effect of PERCH on changing patient perceptions of care before and after using the app. So I'm going to break down what the data here is actually telling us. In the 3 graphs on the right, the dark blue line represents patients' responses after using our app, and the light blue line is their responses before using the app. In all of the graphs, the darker blue line is shifted more towards the left, which is the positive end of the axis, with strongly agree and agree, shifted more left than the lighter blue line, indicating that PERCH is actually impacting and improving patients' perceptions of their care and communication with physicians. So a couple of things to note. One, this wasn't done in clinics. This was specifically with patient perception. So we gave patients a series of questions, they used our app, and then we gave them the same questions again to see the change in our model on their perceptions of their communication abilities. So that's the quick note. Next slide.
So what makes PERCH unique? So PERCH uses a data-driven approach as opposed to using the one-size-fits-all model, and is able to personalize care in addition to making the process time efficient, which is not seen through other alternatives, being one of the 50 forms that you have to fill out when you go to the medical office. Also, PERCH's ability to make the process very transparent and accessible is very important in making the patient feel comfortable and removing the stigmas and self-confidence issues that arise from receiving a score and being labeled as limited, etc. So PERCH's go-to-market strategy includes going to market as a free patient-centric tool that is used by both patients and physicians. And PERCH, as it gains traction, is able to, will be able to reach a larger population and be implemented in patient advocacy groups as well as clinics. And finally, the end goal is to integrate PERCH into healthcare systems and actually see it licensed to EHR companies and hospitals and reach a wider population of physicians and patients.
Next slide. So our revenue model is a freemium model where we offer basic services for patients because we recognize the prevalence of financial barriers in vulnerable populations. This allows us to grow our initial user base while still generating revenue for our more advanced services. For physicians, if you could click one more time, if for physicians, we have our recommended strategies that's offered for free, but we also have our premium tier, and then one more click. For clinics, we differentiate between small and larger sizes because of disparate resources. And for clinics, hospitals, and EHR companies in general, we have respective monthly licensing rates compounded with 50 cents per patient. Next slide.
So after having the first iteration or multiple iterations of the app, we went to receive feedback from experts in various fields to kind of improve the outcome of our app. So the first person that we went to is our very own Amy Hunt here at Nueva, one of the psychology teachers who's really, really good in the work she does. And we were able to receive feedback on the user-friendliness of the app, in addition to the flow of the questionnaire and making it more enticing for the patients to use, and kind of giving them incentive to use it, kind of making it a net positive as opposed to another thing on their to-do list. Next slide. And then most recently, Wang, who is actually the CEO and co-founder of Guac, a grocery retail company. And in that case, we were able to learn so much about his process of creating a startup from basically where we were at, and as very, very small and just an idea, to kind of growing that to where it's at and receiving an award. So we were able to learn about all of those in addition to receiving feedback on directions and next steps.
Most recently, we've been working with the legal team on navigating the legal landscape of the healthcare system. We focused on HIPAA specifically, which is an act that encompasses patients' personal health information. It's super big in the field. And what we've done is we've modeled our go-to-market strategy specifically in a way that's compliant with HIPAA regulations. So we have things like local iPads or anonymous data collection that is allowing us to adhere to the regulations that are a part of HIPAA. Yes, and some pictures.
Furthermore, PERCH has gone on to win several recognition from several competitions and challenges for its innovative design and potential for social impact.
So kind of looking forward in our next steps with PERCH, after kind of implementing the feedback we received, we would like to actually release and finalize and release the app itself. In addition to actually being able to test PERCH in a more extensive audience and specifically in those target populations. And finally, actually getting PERCH out into patient advocacy groups and looking even further into the future of actual clinics and the healthcare system as a whole.
So thank you all so much for listening, and feel free to ask any questions you have.
So now we'll have 2 or 3 minutes just for panelist questions, and then after all the presentations, we'll have audience Q&A as well. So don't worry, you can ask your questions at the end as well.
I just would love more information about the validated health resources that you use for your questionnaire and how you've iterated on the right type of questions that will build that patient profile.
Right. So we started this project by actually going online and basically looking at what are the current sort of toolkits and strategies that exist for addressing patients. For addressing sort of physician-patient communication for patients with limited health literacy. The main resource that we used was a toolkit published by the Health Literacy Center, which is a government sort of organization, and they published like several editions of these strategies specifically to address like different needs that patients would have in healthcare. What we did is we're combining that resource with existing health literacy screeners, and rather than 2 different steps in the process that often aren't brought together. So like, either clinics use health literacy screeners to see like what the patient's health literacy are, or they use these resources generally using the same strategies for all their patients. we're using the screeners to say specifically which strategies are more useful for each patient.
Are they questions like, do you understand your doctor or have trust? Or are they questions like telling them about a medical procedure and seeing how much they understand about that?
Yeah, it's very simple questions. So like it's split into 4 domains: written, numerical, verbal, and communication. Verbal questions like, how comfortable do you feel talking to your doctor about like, X, or like numerical, how comfortable, there's like a nutrition label, and this is like from Pfizer's numerical health literacy screener. Yeah, questions like those. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. So I'm just thinking about what you presented from a sort of a narrative standpoint, and you cited a bunch of the costs of lack of adequate literacy, and then the results that you showed to tell us how successful PERCH is or has been so far didn't actually directly link to any of those, right? It was patients feel better and 86% of doctors think it's useful, but it didn't talk about, for example, the reduced number of medical visits. Now, I understand you're not at the stage yet where you can get those numbers. It's just a part of the process. But I just wanted to sort of throw that at you as something that I think needs to be addressed. And the other piece.
Thought about that yet?
That's a great point.
And just another one that sort of niggled at me was you talked about, you started talking about your grandmother, which is great. We all have or had grandmothers and we love them, so that's a beautiful place to start. But I didn't hear more about her and how this might have helped her specifically. So I felt like it sort of left that unaddressed. And I guess related to that, when you talked about the, yeah, that's fine, you presented lots of numbers, but just as a small point, just stick in a reference. Like this is from the NIH or this is from the such and such, just something so it feels more validated to me.
Totally.
All just
Yes.
narrative points.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you guys covered a lot of the things that I was expecting to hear about HIPAA, right? That's a pretty big barrier to entry. I like how you went very clearly in a go-to-market. I think the two things that stuck with me is knowing that HIPAA is a challenge to overcome. And you can answer afterwards, is like, do you start with the patients or do you start with the clinical care providers, right? Because it's kind of a catch-22 or a chicken and the egg that you can't get the clinical care provider who's going to play ball if HIPAA regulations are there and they're not going to, have any input. And then similar to what you had said, if at the end of the day you're going to have to charge hospitals and clinical care providers, the real question I have is like, what is the KPI of what success looks like?
Mm-hmm.
And the perception that things are better sounds good, but is that something that hospitals are willing to pay for? How much are they willing to pay for it? And so is it sufficient to say that the perceptions are enough? It might be if your KPI is like a net promoter score of we just feel better, but with
Drives more doctor visits.
yeah, if it drives more doctor visits, then absolutely, because that is insurance paid, but the perception isn't probably sufficient enough to say, yeah, I'm willing to put down $1 million, $2 million, $10 million down to pay for this software and roll it out across the entire thing and integrate it with my emergency medical health record system. So I think those are the areas where we dig in a bit deeper, like when you're really going to sell to hospitals, the value proposition has to typically be increased revenue or lower costs, and not just perception of how things are for patients.
But if you can tie those, you can actually charge a lot more money.
If I can just jump on top of that for 1 second. One of the costs you cited of lack of medical literacy is additional doctor visits. So if you're trying to reduce the number of doctor visits, then the hospitals or the clinics may not be happy about that, to Ryan's point, because that's what they get paid for. But the insurance companies would be. So you may want to rethink your who your customer actually is, given the value proposition you're trying to cite.
And just to add on to what you all said, that's a lot of great points. So yeah, about the perception and receiving user feedback. Our next step is exactly after we integrate the app further and we actually get testing from
physicians implementing it in the healthcare system will be able to know more what the effect overall will be, for example, reducing cost or improving, hospital visits rather than simply perception. But because we're currently trying to combat the HIPAA barriers, we haven't had the opportunity yet to get that data. But that's definitely something that we're going to try to get in the future.
So HIPAA-wise, that's the exact, you hit the nail on the head. That's the exact question that we've been focusing on, with the legal team we're working on. Basically, our approach is, as we're reaching out to individual doctors first to see what are the big barriers of that clinic, what do they need to know from us to minimize the risk to get in there. And second, we've also done what we can to minimize the risk, so having it be a local iPad with this screener on it, rather than a patient comes in on their phone with the app. That data transfer is increases the risk of HIPAA. So things like that. Addressing your second question about doctors versus, I guess, your second question was about clinics specifically. What we're thinking of revenue-wise is the first couple of clinics will be free. It's going to be more like demos, and then afterward we start thinking about what's a reasonable cost. This is very preliminary. So yeah, that's it.
Just time-wise, we have to move on. Those were some brilliant questions and great answers as well. So, yeah, we can move on to the next team that will be pitching, which is Expresso. So I'll hand the stage back to them.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Wait a second, that was supposed to happen. Okay, wait. Arishka, how do you even prepare for this presentation? I'm feeling really nervous right now.
Oh my god, I honestly don't know. I've been reading the slideshow, reading it in my head, rehearsing it out loud, rehearsing it in front of my mirror. I still don't know how to prepare for this, and I don't feel confident in my ability to communicate about our products.
Oh my god, if only there was a tool where you can just practice public speaking, without having to just think about the specific presentation in mind. Yeah, quicker.
Me, Expresso, public speaking, made easy, made fun, made for you.
Okay. Yes, public speaking is hard, but it's also really important. I'm sure you guys have all felt how nerve-wracking it can be. Oh, shoot. Yep, there we go. How nerve-wracking it can be to be speaking in front of a lot of people. Your hands are clammy, you're feeling jittery, but that is exactly why we've designed Expresso. I'm Leah, I'm an ex-debater, and I've been really inspired by my dad, who is a great public speaker. Whenever I watch him, it makes me want to really improve my skills so that I can empower myself and my community.
And I'm Arishka. I think public speaking has very much changed my life. I started off as a really shy, really introverted child, and when starting debate, I think I decided to do that to overcome my fear of public speaking. And I think doing debate through elementary, middle, high school has definitely helped me improve my self-confidence when speaking in front of others, and it's also really helped me lean into community advocacy and kind of speaking up for myself and causes that I'm passionate about. So public speaking is obviously really important to both of us, but it's also important in our society. We see that 85% of entry-level jobs seek communication skills and confidence. And it's not just jobs. Public speaking is crucial in any setting. We see that if you're a researcher trying to present your research to a wide variety of people, or if you're a student trying to do a class presentation, public speaking is an important skill to practice. However, so many people in our society today fear public speaking. 75%, estimates say that 75% or over of people fear public speaking, and public speaking training is key to overcoming that fear. Unfortunately, public speaking training is incredibly costly and inaccessible. The average cost of public speaking coaching per hour, and this is private coaching, is over $200. And we see that just preparing for a presentation at that rate would lead to upwards of $1,000 in costs.
Yes, Dave, we will add references next time.
Yep, And our solution is Expresso. Expresso is a low-cost tool for people to develop public speaking confidence through AI-powered speech analytics, personalized speech drills, content tips, and progress metrics. At Expresso, we are kind of built on the premise that having daily drills, daily approachable, reinforceable things to do will ultimately help improve public speaking confidence. We can see that our app is similar to Duolingo for public speaking. We use a lot of these models for things like language learning apps, for things like workout plans, and having this type of training plan, like drill type system, is really good and really approachable to get people to like actually develop their confidence.
Oh no. Is that the right one? Okay, so this is a very rough layout of what we want our model to look like. So our main feature is the full speech analysis button, which you cannot see well because of the projector, which is making everything blend together. But that is, you can either do a live recording with video, or you can upload a file, and it will give you a summary of your performance as well as qualitative data on how well you did, such or things you can improve on and things you did well, like filler words, speech, like timing, body language, and then And then we also have our drills, which is a list here that you can click on and learn more about and see why it's important if you're looking to improve specific skills within public speaking. So these are just a couple we've listed out that we use often in debate, but there are many more that we can build upon. You can pin these drills if you want to prioritize them in your daily practice, and they will go into your daily practice board, where you can get daily notifications and reminders and make it easily accessible so you remember to consistently work on these skills. And then on the left, you can see your progress, your weekly progress, just to see how consistent you've been throughout the week, and a fun little leaderboard for some friendly competition. But these are, of course, features that we can edit later on. Oh, why does it do two? Okay. So who is this actually going to be reaching? First off, students, yes. High school students, middle schoolers, just people who are looking to improve their confidence so that they can speak up for themselves in any environment. Also professionals who are independently looking to hone the skill so that they can bring it into the workplace and bring it into networking. But this is also really applicable for whole businesses, as they have these corporate budgets, right? And instead of having to spend so much money on speaking coaching, you can just use Expresso, which is really low cost and also is specific for each person's level. So everyone can be starting at different levels, and you can get the practice you need at a very low cost, and it's overall more effective and efficient with your money. Additionally, we're hoping that this will reach public speaking coaches as well. Although this may not be as large of an audience, it is a side idea we had, and I'll speak more on it later, but pretty much we want to be able to have Expresso be a platform in which public speaking coaches can reach their students as well.
Awesome. Now let's take a look at the competitive kind of market landscape of public speaking. We can divide this into 4 buckets. First is going to be Expresso, our app. Second is going to be public speaking clubs such as Toastmasters. Third is going to be other AI speaking apps like Orai and Speako that currently exist on the market and that we've tested out. And then fourth and finally is going to be private coaching. So in terms of cost, which is honestly one of the main issues here because we want to focus on accessibility, cost is, like, Expresso is clearly the winner here. We want to be $0 to consumers, or at least for now, with some paid features, but like those features aren't necessarily like crucial. But then we're also going to get a lot of our revenue from potentially selling to businesses as well as maybe advertising. But we see that Expresso is immediately at an advantage to consumers because of its cost-accessible nature compared to a lot of these other alternatives that are simply not like accessible for all people. Now, in terms of one-to-one instruction or in-person instruction, this is something that Expresso chooses to forgo because we want to make sure that our tool is easy to practice every single day as well as just accessible. We see that we have a lot of these other features that we're very much choosing to focus on as opposed to the one-to-one personal instruction. And I think that practicing kind of daily and having that kind of engaging, approachable system for practicing will ultimately lead to really good outcomes. Like, for example, with Duolingo, I know people who have really like year-long Duolingo streaks, and they've just really been at it because of the approachable nature of the app, and we want to do this with Expresso. And then these are a lot of the other features that we have that a lot of these other resources may not have.
Okay, some successes so far. We have successfully made we've done user need finding, and we've talked with students at Nueva
And this is of course a small audience, but it has helped us in the first steps to finding what do we really want to hone in on to develop this tool. We've also created a backend code in the terminal that runs, that you can use for the speech analysis. And we have talked with a startup founder to get project advice, and this was actually a really pivotal moment where we switched from more of a software prototyping to user-side design. And through that, it has helped us focus or think critically about which audience are we really trying to reach and what is the goal of this tool. So with that, we had designed the website, which I showed you. It was very rough, but we mapped out the features, which was important. And we also started social media campaigning to raise awareness about Expresso and collect input from potential users. Oh, no. Okay, so some obstacles we faced was the synchronous mic input into the API, as well as the fluency calculator algorithm, but we were able to successfully do that. Right now, our main challenge is connecting this to a website front end, and that is a really crucial step to actually getting to that user side so that they can start testing it out. And some problems we'll anticipate for the future are here. Once we bring this to an audience, we're gonna have to think about like the different users. So there are gonna be people who are just trying to build a skill, people who do debate, a lot of things like that, and then we just have to make sure that we develop the tool for those needs. And then we also just want to account for other disfluencies and privacy and things that go along with developing software.
Yeah, so this is a quick screenshot of kind of our backend code and how it works so far. So I did this a few days ago, and basically how it works is in the terminal, we start the code, and then you basically talk into the mic, and it's going to receive the real-time mic input from when you're speaking, and it processes it using the Rev AI API, and it basically creates a transcript. So when you press submit, it's going to show you the transcript. It's going to show you how many filler words you used. We're also going to account for more filler words as in our future iterations of this. And then it's also going to show you a fluency calculation of your passage based on an algorithm that we coded to do so. So I think this can definitely be improved and added onto later by creating our own neural network to figure out like other sounds and other disfluencies. This is a really good start, and I think if we release this as a beta version connected with a web app, I think it can be able to reach a lot of people and make a difference.
More on that, expanding upon that, we want to continue building the software, so we actually want to incorporate video gesture detection, and that will, with all the generative AI today, 4.0 just got released. I know people are excited about that. That was really cool to watch, but that is super applicable to being able to recognize body language and other disfluencies in someone speaking. We also, just want to launch this website and get to the actual user testing, because that is crucial to staying on track and reaching the users. And we also want to develop this tool for public speaking coaches, so maybe they can annotate videos and assign drills and homework. That was a side idea, but also, what if users also design drills and share them with each other? That would be a really cool platform where people can share their own techniques and things that have worked well for them, and just build that community for public speaking. Oh, okay, wait, no, not done. At Expresso, we believe that everyone deserves to be confident in their public speaking skills. The technology is out there. We are highly motivated to do this, and we need your support so that we can make it real, scale it, and empower people. Thank you. Now I'm done.
Thank you.
Well, just for the sake of time, we'll try to keep the questions short.
It's super interesting. Just a couple thoughts. One, you did state the problem, but I would be happier if it was a bit more epic. This is technology for social good. And what struck me, I think a better pitch might be, just putting it out there, democracy not only requires freedom of speech, it requires eloquent speech. It requires clear transmission of ideas and thought. Right? So now it's not just, I'm going to win the debate contest, I'm going to more comfortable in front of my class. It's the very fabric of society depends on us doing it successfully.
So right, for sure.
So put that one into the hopper. So that said, democracy aside, right? I'm not convinced on the technical side. I think you can probably pick up certain, so let me call them trivial disfluencies. I don't know that they're trivial to overcome, the ums and the ahs, but to me, that's not what makes a good public speaker. So I feel like even though I'm prone to overpromise when I'm putting democracy at stake, I think you're overpromising when you're speaking about addressing public speaking with sort of trivial disfluencies. So I'm having trouble there. And the dimensionality of what makes good public speaking is so vast that I'm not convinced you can do it yet without like a lot of AI. So yeah, so that's my, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really great point, and I totally agree. I think the design behind Expresso is making this really approachable. So for the people who are just starting out and trying to just hone in on just practicing, it may not be what makes them the world's next best public speaker, but this is a great starting point if you're just accessible at home, want to practice on your own, and a tool for that.
Right, and then the framing becomes really important.
I'd say related to that, if you think of Duolingo, the thing that gets people to come back is that they're learning something new every day, that they have new exercise, new content. It's a lot of content generation, and so I kind of like that you teased about the user-generated content, but I'm curious if you thought about how do you generate these exercises and get fresh content that's going to make people want to come back every day.
Yeah, I think a few things that we were thinking about, yes, first definitely the user-generated content, but also we were thinking about having a wide kind of array of drills that we have. So for example, in debate, we do a lot of speaking drills that target different things. We do a drill that talks about kind of enunciation by speaking with a pen in your mouth. We do drills that involve kind of emotion when you're speaking by kind of exaggerating every single word. And I think having a platform that these drills can be really approachable, they can be a daily thing for people to do, and something that can really encourage them to do it every day. I think just having that and having that kind of repetition of a wide variety of drills would be really interesting. And then we could also, we could also vary the content in the drills as well. So
yeah, that's a good point. I do see why it might be hard to stay motivated, but we would be ideally maybe change the layout and have the drills be more on a content level basis where you're going to be rotating through them and you just progress through them, and then you can review them and keep practicing, but you'll get introduced to new ones at certain levels.
All right, I'll try to keep it short. But number one, I love how you started and that you established yourself as an expert. You care about this, you talk proficiently at it, and that carries forward for someone who's listening to this pitch. The other thing I think you did incredibly well is you made this comp to Duolingo, and immediately I was like, got it. Consumer app, gamification, go, go, go. The minute you showed the website, I was lost. I was like, that's not Duolingo, that's not engaging, that's not something I can use every day. And so I encourage you to hone it down on the nail. Building a mobile app is hard, but if you can hone it down on a limited display size, you'll actually get to the one thing that Duolingo does, which gamifies and gives you a prompt. And when I see what you're doing, all you need to do is give people a prompt, record what they're going to give you, and then do something with it. And I want to come back to that in a second.
Just you put something up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was really, I'm just going to
Yep.
I was just very, within the past month,
Sure.
very good.
I love where that goes, and really it's just a very lean prompt. But why see things, do things that don't scale? And so the thing that doesn't scale is to get people to just give you data. And to be honest with you, you don't need technology. You two are the experts. You rate every single one, you give them feedback, and you keep them coming back because you're giving them real feedback. And oh, by the way, you're collecting data, you can rate it based on how you like it, and then you can use that to prime a model. In fact, you can go on masterclass and you can just not steal other content, but you can find a bunch of content and then know what good looks like, know what bad looks like, rate it yourself and prime models that way.
Building training data for a model, yeah.
But you can get people to just give you what you need without having to build all the technology. You guys are the experts, so you rate it, you give it feedback, and then you see if people behave the way you want them to. Last piece is, you seem a little unclear when you're doing consumer versus business, and you threw this thing about the marketplace. And I think you need to figure out which of those things you want to do. I think the most compelling play is probably the consumer, because it is the most comparable to what already exists out there. And if you are experts, you can just give people feedback, get content, and see if you can get people to behave in an unscalable way. And then you can figure all this stuff later. And AI will be different in 6 months. That you can just throw it in there, and it'll do it for you.
yeah, thank you so much. These are really good questions and ideas. Really appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Next up, we'll have safety.
Hi everyone, I'm Aidin. And I'm Kevin. And welcome to Safety. So starting off, we're going to go over an overview. We're going to talk about the problem which we're tackling, which is panic attacks. Then we'll dive into our solution, which is focusing on our app, looking at the machine learning side and user interface.
Okay, yeah. Starting out with just the problem. So first off, like, what are panic attacks? Panic attacks are bouts of anxiety and pain that can be triggered by almost anything. And according to the NIH, 2.3% of teenagers, or 27.6 million people worldwide, experienced panic attacks in 2022. And as for symptoms, we have a list over there, but in general, it's trouble breathing, chest pain, and emotional dread, or just a general kind of mental collapse. And also, we found that according to the NIH, panic attacks can be correlated with a high and unusual spike in heart rate, which can be easily detectable through wearable devices.
And so me and Kevin were all in the space of mental health, and across Nueva and for a lot of youth and teens, this issue of panic disorder and mental health is a really big issue. So starting off, when looking at this problem, we did some user interviews. So first we talked to Katie, a high school student, and our friends. She talked about how like panic disorder and chronic panic attacks are like really negative for her social life and her like everyday health, because she didn't know when these panic attacks were actually going to come, and oftentimes they're really severe and it limited her social ability. She also talked about how grounding and breathing techniques were really critical and helpful for her to actually reduce these panic and episodes when she's actually experiencing anxiety. We also talked to Emily, which is a school therapist in the field of mental health, and she said that currently there's not a lot of useful panic attack prediction and prevention technology in the market. And so that's exactly what we wanted to set out to actually solve. So looking at our solution. So what our solution is an app that relates heart rate data from your smartwatch and analyzes and predicts trends of unusual heart rate correlated with panic attacks to predict and prevent panic attacks. And we're targeting this towards teens through early messaging systems towards guardians. And on the left is just a quick diagram of what our logic of our app actually looks like. But let's dive deeper into that.
Okay, delving a bit deeper into the interworkings behind our app, we first start with the live data collection. And here we use an Apple library called WC Sessions to export live heart rate data from the Apple Watch and import it into Google Firebase, which is our real-time database. As you can see, here's a small snippet of our code, and we're coding it first. Okay, so once the data is in Google Firebase, we can then start using different machine learning models to try to detect trends in our data. And we tested with a variety of models ranging from random forests to time series forecasting models. But in the end, we chose to use an LSTM to predict future heart rates and use a random forest to categorize those future heart rates into either normal heart rate, panic attack, or exercise. As you can see on the top right, we have a graph of exercise over time. Heart rate over time during exercise. And basically it shows that the overall distribution is much wider from between panic attacks and heart rate. And also panic attacks will peak at a much higher peak than heart rate. And also we are currently using, we're currently running our models on the cloud, but currently we're trying to transition away from the cloud and use Core and Create ML, which are both Apple applications that we can use to kind of run our models locally.
So after our model actually predicts these panic attacks, it then directs the user into our user interface. So it sends the user a push notification as well as vibrating the phone to alert the user. Then it has a confirmation page to reduce error, confirming that the user is actually experiencing a panic attack. And after the user actually confirms, it directs them towards grounding and breathing exercises that we talked to Katie and Emily about that they recommended that were really useful. And finally is our homepage. This is just a rough MVP of like a proof of concept of what our app actually wants to look like. We're still developing this, and we're trying to push this out. And so after the user confirms that they have a panic attack, we also have a messaging system towards guardians. So the way this works is at the very beginning when they actually get the app, the user is able to input the guardian phone number. That's then transferred to our database with a unique identifier code. So when they confirm they have a panic attack, our Firebase function gets deployed that pulls out their phone number and use a third-party messaging site called Vonage to send that phone number a message as well as location to help the parent and guardian assist the child and know like the status of the panic attack and reduce further like damages in the future.
Okay, moving on, we have our competition. We identified 3 major companies, Aura, Rooted, and Calm. And just going down the list, Aura is a ringing app that focuses more on mental health in general. And we noticed that they don't have prediction or prevention measures specifically geared towards panic attacks. And then also, Rooted and Calm are pretty similar. Neither of them notify guardians or predict panic attacks, and are more for showing general statistics on mental health based on heart rate and a variety of other features. And lastly, we have our marketing and business model. We plan to target teenagers with anxiety disorders and other people who suffer from panic attacks. We will gain revenue from ads, and we will market through social media, emails, and referrals from doctors we've already contacted.
And so some things that we're continuing to work on is we're still developing our MVP, focusing on the user interface. We're talking to users like Katie to try to make the user interface as friendly as possible. And we're also trying to work on expanding more users, testing users to get more feedback on our app. And we're currently trying to reach out to mental health institutions and schools across like California. All right, thank you so much.
Questions. One, have you thought about, is there any training set data for panic attacks specifically, and what if you're just watching a scary movie or something else that's, anxiety, but not a panic attack?
So specifically, we looked at data sets. There's an NIH study talking about wearable devices predicting panic attacks, specifically targeted towards chronic panic disorder. And so we're able to use those data sets as well as working with users. We're tracking their data set, data of heart rate when they're actually experiencing like chronic panic disorder and panic attacks, and we're training our model on those.
And then I'm curious what you're thinking about HIPAA, because this is a lot of personal data, and why teens instead of all adults? Frankly, there's some actual restrictions on collecting data of minors that you may have to think about.
Mm-hmm.
And curious if you thought more about like what would be different for a teen versus an adult.
Okay, yeah. So we chose to do teens because we can alert their guardians, and kind of they have a more set network of people who they can trust, and people who can take care of them if the need arises. As for HIPAA, we have not contacted too many people, or we've contacted a lot of people, but it's most of them have fallen through because of HIPAA regulations and other stuff with privacy. But currently we are working with a doctor, and we're hopeful that we can have a lot of data in the foreseeable future.
You might want to think about doing adults too, because everybody has a friend or a significant other, or someone else that can be there. You can still call it a guardian or your person.
Yeah, our app is definitely not limited towards teens. But we're definitely targeting towards teens because that's an area that we're most familiar with.
I think the idea is great. There's obviously a need, especially now that we're becoming more aware of mental health and our own physical health. I will say I hate your ad revenue idea. I think at the end of the day, you should build something that is so good that someone's willing to pay for it, not have to have an ad experience somehow attached to it. This coming from a person who worked at Twitter, where it's all ads. And I just can't see how you would add ads into this thing in a way that probably wouldn't cause more anxiety.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the main thing is we're thinking of like building like a larger user base, and then we're like able to like sell the app on the App Store. I think that's like the best like option like going down. But yeah.
So I remain a little skeptical about the viability of predicting. And then, I mean, we'll see. You can prove me wrong, that'd be awesome. I'm an avid Go player. You know the game, Asian game Go is like chess, essentially.
Yeah.
I play in tournaments, and every tournament game my watch goes off because it thinks I'm having a heart attack. So, and I don't know if that maps to panic attack or not. Anyhow, that aside, I don't know why you need to run it locally, because most of the users are likely to be connected most of the time. So certainly early on, I don't think that's a place to dedicate a lot of your engineering clock cycles. I'm with them 100% on the ads. In fact, ads work by generating anxiety. That's how they work. That's what ads do. So let's see. The Guardian thing. I don't know if, I mean, it's something you have to ask your customers. I don't know if panic attack customers want someone to be informed every time they have a panic attack.
Yeah.
It may be the opposite. And if I can, and just one more sort of set of thoughts. Success metrics. I had a few ideas. Wouldn't it be cool if the device could track, yes, I know you had a panic attack, but you had fewer this week than last week. Like something to track success in terms of the rate of panic attacks. Maybe you could graph your improvement over time. And also, I'll bet you bags to donuts there are exercises one can do to help prevent panic attacks. Regular meditation being one. And if you could graph the prevention activities of someone and encourage them to pursue those, that might also be a nice complement to the detection.
Yeah, I totally get that feedback. On your first part about when it comes to like users and like testing and things like that, we're currently like for our like exercises, we're thinking of like incorporating like exercises to like customize like data. So when the user like is experiencing panic attack, we're training our model and building that on like their current like data. That way it will be like a lot more accurate. And I think that's a really good suggestion of like adding exercises that they can do based on like their current like metrics that'll help them like reduce like panic attacks in the future.
Great. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Awesome. Those are some great presentations and some great feedbacks and questions. Next up, we're going to have 2 short talks, which is kind of just a glimpse into what Invention Studio has down the pipeline. So these are kind of early stage ideas before that are not kind of at the level of these presentations, just to kind of get a sense of what people are working on. So an early stage project and also kind of something that's in a transitional period. So that would be nice. Yeah, so first off, we'll have Charlotte presenting with KnowMe. Oh, and another note, we're going to keep these really short because we're running low over time. So.
I have some notes, so just in case I forget what I'm saying when I'm standing up here. But I'm going to keep this short. I just really wanted an opportunity to just tell you 3 amazing people and the rest of you all in the room a project that I've been working on, actually, in Wes, not to shout you out while you're eating food, but Wes's software engineering class at Nueva. So really, I want to start with a story. It's actually a story, my story. In 4th grade, my parents actually separated. And during that time, I developed a coping strategy, which was to basically hide my situation every time I went to school. I signed myself up for a bunch of clubs and joined student council and wore a smile on my face every day, but really I didn't have anyone to talk to who also was going through a similar experience. And that strategy actually continued into middle school. In 7th grade, my dad tragically actually passed away. And that was an incredibly isolating and difficult period for me. And the worst part about it was that COVID actually happened, or the quarantine period actually started 1 week after my dad passed away. And so those two things coupled together, I had virtually no person who was my age, who I was comfortable with, that I could talk to about what I was going through. And so those experiences really put me in a position where I started to think a lot about people, how all of us in this room are probably facing some sort of invisible struggle. Life has challenges, life has its ups and downs, yet it is so crazy to me that I realize that every time I walk into a room, no one has any idea what I'm dealing with, at home. And so in high school, I actually started to realize, by being more open about my situation, that a lot of other kids are going through difficult challenges in their families, at home. But the thing is, no one's putting in their Instagram bio that, my parents are divorced, or, when we're walking down the street, we're not publicly announcing what's going on. And so the crazy thing is, when I'm sitting in my math class, the kid sitting next to me could also have just went through the loss of a parent, but I would have virtually no idea. And so realizing that, and then also through research, I've come to realize that going through these difficult challenges, these difficult family experiences when we're young, as kids, and not having anyone to talk to actually creates a lot of mental health challenges. I'm sure all of you guys are familiar with the fact that we are going through and experiencing a major youth mental health crisis, as well as a loneliness epidemic. And so from there, I realized I gotta build something for myself. And I gotta build something for all the other kids who, go to school every day, scroll on social media feeling alone. And so that's what I did. Thanks to being in Wes's amazing software engineering class, I actually had the opportunity to sit down and build a full stack app that essentially, I like to say, is kind of like a LinkedIn, except if it was actually made for kids, and was all about sharing our hardships and imperfections rather than our achievements and us on a beach in Hawaii like Instagram would. And so essentially how it works is you can sign up, create a profile that not only has your hobbies and interests, kind of the surface level aspects of our identities, but also allows you to share a more intimate bio of yourself. And the whole concept of the platform is that it's supposed to allow kids within sheltered kind of school communities and in local communities to create these profiles anonymously so that they can connect with other kids who are their age and kind of live in a similar area or go to the same school. And then from there, once they send a connection request, they can, it has to be a two-way connection if you're familiar with how LinkedIn works. And then from there, they can start sending messages to each other and really build their network of support. So right now, in terms of updates and progress, I released KnowMe to Nueva back in January, and have since been going around to other schools to share the project and share the QR code with their students. And I've been able to start matching students through the platform. But really from here, the reason I wanted to stand in front of you all is to display that big QR code there for anyone in this room who wants to scan it and create their profile. Again, this is for kids, so please don't. Please, parents, please try to stay off this platform. And I'm sure I'll probably get grilled on a question about privacy in a second. And then the second reason I'm up here is also to throw it out there that if there's any actual, kids or anyone out here who actually wants to work with me on this project, I am just one coder and would all, of course, love to have partners who can, work and really bring this project to more kids, maybe to more schools, and maybe eventually to every school, across the country. So that's KnowMe, and thank you all for listening to my short intro talk.
use and making sure that you keep adults off of the platform?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for the question. So in terms of how I've gone about trying to address that issue, it was kind of like one of the first big things that I thought about, and actually Wes brought it up to me too in the class, was to use this concept of like a school ID. So again, just trying to keep it restricted to school communities. That's my immediate kind of reaction to how I would address it. School email addresses, yeah, that's something I haven't yet implemented, but for now, I've just been trying to target only school communities. So actually, demoed here is kind of one of the first big times I've even mentioned it to a room with adults in it as well. But going forward, it's definitely.
Facebook, when it first started, only allowed certain universities, and it just restricted the domain names, and so it would be a pretty easy enhancer for you to do.
Definitely, thank you.
I just want to say, I want to applaud you for the courage that you showed and the fact that you took something and you decided to create, because it's so easy in this world to consume and consume and consume. It's hard to then turn it into something like, I'm going to build something. So kudos, and keep doing that. I think that the clearest thing is it can be very helpful. You have to just watch out for people connecting and somewhat wallowing in these things in a negative way. There's a social network that maybe people don't know about called Blind, which is entirely anonymous. It is like a LinkedIn, but no one knows anybody else on it, and it can be a venting session for a lot of people on it, and so it's interesting because there's a lot of value to it, but there's also a lot of negativity, and so how do you balance that? Probably requires a decent amount of moderation and those kinds of things, and you'll face challenges of what you feel is appropriate, not appropriate, how you want people to connect. But it can be a very powerful thing in a very positive way, in a way that Twitter, on its best days, is an amazing community of anonymous people.
Thank you.
Oh, super cool. One idea is just tossing it out there to have richer modalities of connection contained within the system itself. So if I want to connect with you, I'm guessing I'd have to give you my email address, my real email address, at which point my anonymity is breached. And there's a lot of risk there. Right.
Actually, yeah, so originally, the original prototype, that's what ended up happening, but I actually built out like a messaging system onto the platform, so that way only usernames show up for now.
That's great, and I also think you could add other communication modalities. You could add voice, for example, and maybe even some kind of anonymized video. We have to think harder about that, but such a thing, if it doesn't exist yet, will soon. Right? There's enough AI add-ons that you could build right into the stream. You could have the subjective sense of an interactive video conversation with someone anonymized.
Chicken head or
Seriously, yeah, exactly. Or even just an avatar. So anyhow, just something to add to the hopper.
Yeah, I love that idea, 100%. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So next up, we'll have Gavin talking about Ferrofoot.
Hello everybody, so I'm Gavin and I'm here to talk about Ferrofoot. And some of you might know Ferrofoot has been like a pretty long iStudio club at Nueva, and it's been going on for like around 6 years, but this year it kind of went through a little bit of a transition period. And first I would like to just like talk about the general mission of Ferrofoot. So Ferrofoot basically deals with the condition called foot drop. So foot drop is not like a specific disease, but it is kind of like caused by some of the conditions such as like strokes, cancer, and basically foot drop is what happens when the front foot area between the ankle and the foot is like unable to be lifted or has like trouble with. So for example, people with foot drop have like issues with descending stairs, or driving and walking on surfaces in general. So we basically looked at this this market and kind of try to come up with a solution. So we looked at some of the current solutions right now, and that is like, for example, AFOs. So that's like those are ankle foot orthotics, and they are like expensive. They also they only mitigate foot drop and are unable to kind of like go with the other, so for example, some people have like talked about how you're unable to descend stairs and etc. And there's also other treatments that cost like thousands of dollars. So Ferrofoot kind of like came up with the idea of 3D printing braces and connecting them with other communities to be able to deal with foot drop. So we are using like CAD and like Fusion 360 and basically coming up with these designs and then printing them out like public spaces or like sending them out and people will be able to like print them for like a price of like $50, which is like great compared to like some of the other alternative solutions to foot drop. And yeah, it's like a very quick talk. I can talk a lot more about the specifics if you have questions.
Yeah, I'm actually privy to Ferrofoot, which is cool. So can you tell me what progress has been made, say, in the last year? Like, what's the difference now from where it was a year ago?
So a year ago, basically, we were kind of like going through, the prototyping, and we were trying a couple different things, such as like, we were trying like a roller on like the foot to help with kind of like the surfaces, and I think our team kind of like hit like a little bit of a road, to be honest. Like, or like we were hit like a block, we were a little bit stuck, and I think that's what happened. But because this project really matters to me, I want to bring it back to Nueva, and I've been trying to basically restart it again. And for me, I think that kind of like means restarting our like outreach programs and then like talking to people and interviewing people again. And yeah, and then also another thing that I was kind of talking with like the past, peers. It was like about using materials and 100% recyclable plastic, for example, and just like making progress through that.
Yeah, I'm just curious to know, I guess it's been around, I actually watched the video from last year. I'm curious to know how large is your mailing list, the number of people, what feedback you've gotten. It seems like you have a sense of who the customer is. I would say remove all the barriers and just start prototyping and molding and shipping it to people and just seeing if they even need it regardless of how they get it,
Yeah, so I agree with you obviously, and I think it's like, because last year I was kind of like in charge of like the prototyping and design more, not part of like the outreach, so I've been trying to like talk to them about getting that more, and I honestly 100% agree with you. I think that would be a good idea, and yeah. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much, Gavin. So next, we'll have an opportunity for our teams to come up and actually answer questions from the audience, and we'll have our panelists come back to deliver their presentations.
I was going to add, while we get students up here, feel free to take a break. There's more food, there's bathrooms out there. Enjoy food.
That dude is the Marvit. Actually, Marvit. I was thinking hear everything you say.
So when you're ready, come around the shop. Let's talk about.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some prototyping ways to go. Yeah. George and I are up and help you, I guess, find a direction.
I was like looking for some of like the old Ferrofoot stuff. I was gonna ask you.
When you're ready, it's fine. Like it's still the goal. Like you've got a lot to figure out. So, but when you get to that point, let's see what we can do. Let's get to this to the progress. Okay?
Thank you so much.
I'm excited to proceed.
Yeah, because like I think last year we were still doing stuff because I was part of the last year. But then this year I think like it hit a little bit low because like our leader was like doing college apps and stuff.
It happens. Like that's the nature of student teams. They like so maybe we're on the low now, but we'll get back.
So this year I've been talking to some like sophomores or whatever, seeing if they want to like do it. And yeah, so I was gonna reach out to you.
Just come visit us. We're happy to talk about it anytime you want.
Thank you so much.
We'll find you some good materials. We'll get all those materials installed. Well, you will. We'll just sort of.
I'm good at assassins. I'm good at damage dealers. I'm good at support.
The only two snipers on this are Nani and Archie.
Yeah, so you're good at Nani. I'm pretty bad at Nani. Like really bad at Nani. Shots. Like never really tried to play him, to be fair.
He's aggressive.
That's really what it is. Oh no.
关键是你最后能够做出真正的成果来。对，就最后你可能做了很多，最后那个没做出来。但是至少你某一天会有个 experience 来想。对，真的是。我觉得如果坚持10年，他肯定还是可以写一点东西嘛，可以写的。 会的呀，他因为在厕所没人能看着他。哎呀，厕所有很多小孩厕所咱们也带呀，你就带吧。你看这样出来呀，有几人啊？你当然要从自己想到别人。然后我们当时我也带，我当然我不是只要求他，我也要减少这个事。对，对他们非常好。但是因为我们很多时候用它的 communication 这个，那我们用的 communication 是那种拉长，是，就是那个 distraction 是这样的。对，是啊，对，这个控制time 这个，对，真的是有需要做。谁？对，我的小的和他是，还有个大的那个，那我要去拿一个朋友，你们家是但是要我们是7年级嘛，你们家才5年级呢，这样。没参加，没有他没有做这个，他是搞点别的。我没有找拿，现在没有了，因为他可能没有。你也很超凡，你什么今天居然来了？你也很好，我正好。你不会把小朋友带来看看？对，他们也是，对。6年级，你去哪里啊 ？DC 啊？5年级你去哪里？所以去的时候其实挺好，3天满1周啊，比我们西安长。3天满1周。我们没来。你要没来。对，他那个其实还好，我们去那里2天的车，只有3天，顺便好好去面那个地方人家不收。对呀。我缺钱，妈的！为什么就拿这个校长？为什么不能可以飞过去啊？那自己飞的上花，因为太过分了呀！一共5天，有2天都在路上，你有搞什么搞啊？而且那个后头你知道4个人一间寝室，有些小孩。你说这个都是孩子，他怎么会愿意2个人睡一张床啊？是他们睡眠跟爸妈都以前好像不是4个人间，以前是2个人间，不是2个人间，这可以设计的。他们全部是干嘛？我倒是觉得就无所谓，因为我是小孩子，我觉得小孩子天天让他们去 experience 一下这个，但是4个人。 每个妈妈在说，因为他们路上中间休息就在那种 food court 吃饭嘛，就比如说去有些去112，有些去麦当劳，然后有个妈妈说，他们家女儿有生以来第一次吃麦当劳的。他们因为有好几种，就让他们小孩自己选，有些就选1啊，有些就餐费发的也是1个人20块。哦，是吗？我都没有去过，反正去年是。去年是吃的。不过我觉得他们小孩主要是跟朋友一起去，真的还是挺好的。他们自己看的时候，然后我们看到这个看了费时间，上花2天。我觉得去开1天回来开1天有点太多了。其实机票也不贵啊，我觉得这么贵了，70块钱的机票到5天还要再租车。你就想着这个本来租的这个长途的车，直接放空。应该包机票。我觉得是要管理一下。你就等着我们去吧。他们今年是临时的，但是他因为像以前他们去的那个什么开呀，非常好，大家那会儿去过，那就去年那种爸爸你看那个搞砸了嘛，人家就彻底不接受。那个只有那个以外好的其他不对，其实有很多地方都可以。像那个，我们学校已经合作了很多年了，我们是把这个关系给搞好。我们知道就是高1年级的不是有一个招生，后来被相当于开除了，就是他那边就觉得有点，他想跳出去这个位置呀。后来有一些怎么当时没有发现就处理，所以他们年级对学校意见很大，因为实际这个人不是说突然之间变成的，他一直有规划，然后家长一再的，对，跟疫情肯定也有关，但是反正就是家长一再的反映，就是说这个还必须要出手，因为对大家都是很大的帮助，但是学校就一直没有做，我知道终于到那儿闹一个大。是的，他还有个妹妹，我忘了，她在上5年，就是这年龄的，是吧？没有2个。我听到你们年级的妈妈是说对她的印象非常糟糕。
Get a conclusion? It's hard. That's why we're stuck in the room for a long time, I guess. We heard some fight noise.
Thank you, everyone. We hope you all had a wonderful, interactive, stand-up audience Q&A. That was not as planned, but I think it actually worked out even better. So now we're actually going to move into our awards ceremony. As a reminder, we have a top pitch award that we're giving out tonight. It's a $500 prize. And so we're choosing from the three full pitches that you guys heard earlier. But before we get into naming that top pitch, we first want to just give another opportunity to bring up all of the teams that presented. Just if you guys want to line up here, we're going to just give you guys a big round of applause. Let's have you guys stand. Maybe, yeah,
there we go. Yeah, way.
With that nice light. Wait,
You want to stand in front of it? Just stand in front.
Yeah, wait, which one am I standing in front of?
Yeah, thank you so much.
There we go.
Awesome.
Great. Round of applause. This takes It's not easy to pitch and get up there.
Yeah. And panelists, if you guys have any just general words about the teams that you want to share.
You want to share your overall?
I just want to say you guys did an amazing job. I think, you know, working at YC, we get 70,000 applications a year, if not more. And the things that you presented are, my camera here, are more viable and in many cases better ideas and further along than a lot of the things, maybe even 50% of the things that we see come through YC. So you should feel amazing about the fact that you can have great ideas, have people here who can support you, and that you actually have the technical ability of what we saw up there to execute. And that's probably the most important thing when it comes to entrepreneurship. We're all going to say a thing about each of the companies. I have the, yeah.
In order of
Sure.
presentation, so PERCH. So I really loved how you started out your presentation and connecting the story to your mom, and I think that you'd say that you have opportunity to tie it through the whole way, but it was really compelling, and it showed that you had a lot of passion for the idea. I think that I would love to see more of like the screenshots and the demo of like the app and where the doctor data is coming. I think that will tie the story even more that way you have. But I'm like excited about being able to use technology to really improve that process because I think it could help a lot of people in the world. So, great job.
Again, in order, I want to talk a little bit about Expresso. I love that you guys are experts. You presented that very cleanly. I think the analogy that you make, you know, there's a whole time when people are saying, oh, we're Uber for X, we're Uber for Y, and you nailed it by saying we are Duolingo for public speaking. And I love that. I think the two things, again, are like, how do you really make it a reductive, simple experience? And honestly, how do you take stuff out in a way that you do things that don't scale to get the prime going? And the last piece is with AI coming, you have a very short window to execute this and execute it faster than somebody else out there. So now's the time to do it, but you gotta go, go, go. And I think you can, right? There are ways in which we can make it simpler and get people using it really fast and getting good feedback. So good job on both the pitch as well as the idea and the early hints of execution.
So for the safety team, you guys jumped, I think, a little fast into the tech from a narrative, from a pitching, storytelling standpoint. That said, I really appreciate the problem that you guys are trying to crack, and not just the panic attacks, but sort of a notch below that, stress in general is a killer. We all know this, but people aren't acting on it. And instead of just telling people, you know, we need to worry about teen mental health or everybody's mental health, it's like you're doing something that could be very actionable for people. So that's huge and really valuable. So convince me that it could work, please. We all need it. Thank you.
Yeah, so so we can have everyone go back to their seats if you guys or stand up if you want, either way. Okay, you guys can sit. Yeah, so with that being said, just want to thank our panelists and everyone for coming out here. We're gonna announce the top pitch, and before I do, I just want to say, like, in previous years, we found like the feedback that our teams have received from the panelists itself has been like sometimes far more valuable than any like money or award can be. So we just want to say that all teams will be like I think have greatly benefited from the feedback they received today. With that being said, the top pitch for this year's 2024 demo day was, drum roll please, Expresso.
Beautiful guys, look at that. Sorry, other contestants, great job guys. Sure. Wait, why are we here?
Because we're doing a picture, photo opportunity. So you can awkwardly stand there for a little 20 more seconds and then take a picture. And then yeah, we'll do one like this. And then actually,
both move, maybe both move this way. So well, one way or the other.
We're taking jail picture. Sorry.
You have dots on you.
Okay. I'm trying to leave. Okay.
There we go.
And then panelists, do you guys want to join them up there as well?
Yeah. That's what I wanted. You wanted that? I'll be a little recording. I don't know.
All right. Wow.
That's perfect.
Awesome.
Great
Good job.
Cool, thank you so much everyone. We'll give one more round of applause for everyone. And another thing I forgot to mention is that the panelists, like they expressed that this was super close. Like all the teams did a really great job, and it was like I was in the room. It was a really difficult decision. So we just want to thank everyone for presenting and having the courage to speak on that. Cool.
And with that concludes our demo day event. Thank you all again for coming. Thank you panelists so much for your incredible questions and thoughts and helping run this event and really bring it to life. And again, thank you to all the presenters for your courage and for sharing such incredible projects. We hope to see you guys back on stage next year. Last kind of question is just for the teams. If you guys want to stand up and then we do a picture with the panelists. And then again, thank you all so much for being here.